Hi, these comments are for RR, and this is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com and OnlineTOEFLCourse.com. So you're doing some speaking practice. You're one of my new TOEFL Speaking Bootcamp course students, and I'm going to listen to your speaking practice test here in a minute. So let's take a look at your email here. You said, I appreciate your fast response. I wanted to ask you if I need to take the diagnostic pretest for vowel and consonant sounds, or should I go ahead and skip it, just email you my speaking practice only? I would do both. Send me the pretest and then start sending speaking practice. Maybe one day send me the diagnostic pretest for vowel and consonant sounds. Then the next day you can focus on a speaking practice test. And that's kind of what you're doing right now. Okay, so let's see your self-assessment here. You say, I want to emphasize I believe my main problem is my delivery strategy and my inability to stay calm during the test, which leads me to stutter and pause to read my points while I'm in the middle of my sentences. That is a big problem. And I think by using templates, it gives me the comfort of knowing how to start and where to fill in the information they're requesting. I don't know if it causes a mark reduction though. It just feels it saves time for me to think about the content of the questions and not the outline. I think templates are not very effective. I really don't. They limit your vocabulary and your grammar. They put you into a predictable type structure that TOEFL IBT raters have seen many times, that I have seen many times. So I don't recommend using templates. Use your English, right? What you do is, instead of relying on somebody else's template or outline, create your own outline. Just make sure it's original, and then you use it to help you structure your ideas. So if you want to create an outline, that's fine. Just make sure nobody else is using that same outline, so it looks like you have fairly spontaneous, original type speech, and you're not copying other people's ideas. Okay, so the question here is, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Why or why not? Is it better for students to study in a library than to study at home? Pretty basic question. And let's get to the independent speaking rubric. So I can tell you now, as I listen to your response, what problems you might be having when it comes to delivery, language use, and also topic development. Okay, here
I
we go.
agree that it's a better idea for students to study in the library rather than at home. I personally feel this way for several reasons.
That sentence I have heard many times, RR. I personally feel this way for several reasons. I have heard that sentence before. And what you did there is you created two independent clauses, two relatively short sentences, right? What does that do according to the rubrics here? It's showing that you may be limited. Whereas it says, you may be somewhat limited in the range of structures used, right? So using templates shows those limitations.
First of all, I think that studying in the library
You use a lot of things I think that or I believe, but those words are not very helpful because they don't advance the argument you're trying to make. So spend more time on the argument and try to avoid using words like I believe or I think or I feel this way. All of those words really don't do much to advance the argument you're trying to make. Now, to help you with that, go to the grammar part of my course. I have a good lesson there. It's called Being More Concise. I want you to watch that video and then complete some of those practice exercises so that you get used to being much more concise in both your speaking and your writing.
provides you more focused and more determined.
Notice how you went to provide you. Now you're shifting from that first person point of view to the second person point of view. The second person point of view, it's very limited. It focuses directly on the audience. That's not what you want to do here. You do not want the impersonal second person point of view. It distances yourself from the speaking response, and that's not what you're trying to do here. What you're trying to do is to give examples from your own experience or from the experience of people that you know to help answer this speaking prompt.
in states of mind. For example, you can, for example, I remember when I study at home, I tend to get
There, that's better. You said you can, but then you said I remember. So in this case, you corrected yourself, and instead of using the second person point of view, you shifted into the first person point of view. And that definitely is a more appropriate point of view
uh,
here.
for example, I remember when I study at home, I tend to get distracted by my phone and by my family and by other things.
Okay.
Secondly,
When you are studying at home, can you be a little bit more concrete there? Because the example is important because I'm looking at the score of 3 versus a score of 4, and it says in the 3 area here, it says you don't want to have this problem, usually lacks elaboration or specificity, right? Listen to what you just said here for a minute.
and by my family and by other things. For example, I remember when I study at home, I tend to get distracted by my phone and by my family and by other things. Secondly,
Yeah, but that's lacking elaboration right there because what if you said this? You said, for example, last week I was preparing for a biology test. I was trying to understand more about cell division. So to prepare, I studied and prepared my study guide at home. However, while I was trying to study and prepare my study guide, my brother was watching TV in the other room with his 2 friends. And because of the noise they were making, the laughter, and their conversation that they were having, it made it difficult for me to concentrate on my biology course materials. That's elaboration, right? But that's not what you did, right? You did not do that.
by studying in
No, maybe let's see if you do it on the second one.
the library, you can also ask your friends
Notice by studying you can.
or
You are not controlling your point of view, RR. You really aren't. You're having a lot of problems with that. And that's actually a common problem in the spoken language is we tend to speak in conversational English in a less formal manner. So we kind of jump around a lot when it comes to our point of view. But when you're in the speaking, the TOEFL speaking, you want to be more consistent and more unified with your point of view.
support or use the resources available in their library. And this is why I think so.
Now, you might say, in this case, going back to the question here, if you move to the second point, you can restate the topic and say it's also better to study in the library because the library has resources that can help me to complete my course projects. For example, last semester I was working on a research project for my English class. And to get ready for the project, I went to the library, and one of the first things I did after I created my research question is I went to a research librarian who was able to help me see the kinds of sources that I could use to help me complete this project. If I had not gone to the library, I would not have been able to complete that research project. So what I just did is the opposite of what you did here. Even really, if you look in the two area, it says mostly basic ideas are expressed with limited elaboration and support. So you're telling me that you think that your problem is delivery. Uh, no, I think you have problems in every area. I don't think it's just delivery. So I don't want to mislead you here. Obviously, you do have some delivery problems, but you have some limitations with your vocabulary and your grammar. That's a language use issue. You're simply not elaborating after you provide your examples to give you some depth and progression of ideas there. As it says here in the for area, it says generally well developed and coherent relationship between ideas are clear or a clear progression of ideas. The answer is no, you did not do that. So you have to improve, I think, in all of those areas. Let me listen to it one more time, and I'm not going to stop it this time because I need to hear your whole response without any interruptions at all, and then I'm going to give you my final score.
I agree that it's a better idea for students to study in the library rather than at home. I personally feel this way for several reasons. First of all, I think that studying in the library provides you more focused and more determined in state of mind. For example, you can, for example, I remember when I study at home, I tend to get distracted by my phone and by my family and by other things. Secondly, by studying in the library, you can also ask your friends or support or use the resources available in the library. And this is why I think so.
Okay, so there we go. So now what do we do? I'm thinking, I think a lot of what you're doing is even below three. I'm going to put you at a score 2.5 to 3, in between 2 and 3. So I'm going to put you at maybe 19 to 20 points on this particular practice test. So I think delivery, yes. Complete the diagnostic pretest for vowel and consonant sounds so I can get a little bit more complete picture on the problems you're having with pronunciation. But based on my assessment right now, I think that you need to vary your tone more. You seem to do pretty well with your speaking rate and your pause frequency. I didn't notice any major problems with that, so you were pretty calm in that sense. But with language use, you have a lot of simple vocabulary and grammar, so you're going to have to do a little bit better with that area. If you go over to my blog, I want you to check out at bettertoeflscores.com. I have a really good lesson for you right now that you can check out. When you go to bettertoeflscores.com, there's a little search box there. Type in, it's called TOEFL Sentence Variety. I think that's a good lesson for you. Now, staying at the blog, I want you to type in these keywords: TOEFL Independent Speaking Strategies. This is another lesson that's important for you because it will help you to see the structure, the detail, and specifically the elaboration that I'm looking for. I have one more lesson for you too there while you're at Better TOEFL Scores. Type in the keywords lacks TOEFL speaking elaboration and also go through that lesson. I think that's a good lesson. You'll be shocked to see how different your response is to the high scoring responses that have the appropriate elaboration, which means the telling detail, the specificity, and the really specific examples that illustrate, over say 15 or 20 seconds, the argument that's being made in there. So those are some things that you can do right now. I think that you can improve your speaking. I have a good feeling about this. And remember, if you ever want if you're interested in maybe one private lesson per week, I do not have a lot of time. But if you want to do maybe one private lesson each week, and I can focus a lot on that with your delivery and also with some speaking practice during that 1 hour lesson, you can drop by during my office hours any week. You can come by and I can tell you what my availability is. I'm pretty busy right now. For example, this next week, my only availability for private lessons is really in the morning from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. daylight savings time, California, United States. That's really, I have that one time slot. Everywhere else, I'm doing private lessons or I'm teaching my courses here at California State University, San Bernardino, where you see me right now, by the way. Anyway, thank you very much for completing your speaking practice test. I hope that these comments will help you to get on track to improving your speaking. I apologize for giving you so much constructive feedback here Some students are shocked when I evaluate their responses and they never email me again. But I hope that you continue. Keep emailing me speaking practice. The more speaking practice that you send me, the better, and the more corrections and the feedback I can provide, and the faster you will be able to improve your speaking. Right? I know it's not fun to have somebody criticize your speaking, but I promise you, you will get better. I believe this. You will get better and you will get 26 on that speaking section of the exam. I know that's going to happen.